Welcome to the Salar de Uyuni, home to some of the most amazing views on Earth. Located in the southwest corner of Bolivia at about 12,000 feet, the Salar was formed from the remains of an ancient salt lake. As the land shifted and the lake dried, it left behind 10 billion tons of salt that make up the flats. Today, the Salar and its surroundings form an area that attracts thousands of tourists each year to see otherworldly landscapes, vistas that inspired Salvador Dali, and wildlife such as flamingo, fox, and vicuña. Each day, hundreds of tourists pile into land cruisers and begin a multi-day journey through the Salar and its surroundings. The standard 4-day trip will encompass a day in the Salar itself, plus a tour past several landmarks, including a train graveyard, strange rock formations, dangerous geysers, and multicolored lagoons of green and red. The first stop is the unusual train graveyard, just south of Uyuni. The graveyard features locomotives from the entire history of Bolivia's rail system, decaying from the sun and bitter, salty wind coming off the nearby salt flats. Visitors are free to scramble over the rusting hulls of old locomotives, take in the curious and varied graffiti, and snap pictures of the herds of llamas that occasionally pass through. From the graveyard, it's a hard day's drive south, through large expanses of scrubby desert. The road passes dried lakes of borax, and vicuña scamper out of the way of the oncoming jeep. The lodgings for the night are simple, converted barracks from an old borax processing facility. Seen here in the background, the structures are dwarfed by the vast open sky and the towering mountains of the Altiplano. The next morning, the tour enters the Eduardo Avaroa National Wildlife Reserve, and it's here where it first becomes possible to view flamingos. Seeming out of place at 12,000 feet without a palm tree in sight, the reserve is an important feeding and nesting area for 3 species of the bird: the James's flamingo, the Andean flamingo, and the Chilean flamingo. Here, some 30,000 birds enjoy the protection afforded by the reserve and feed on the red algae of the Colorado Lagoon. After leaving the Colorado Lagoon, the route becomes mountainous as the road ascends to over 14,000 feet. As the borders of Chile and Argentina are approached, the Laguna Verde, or Green Lagoon, comes into view. Towering over is the dormant Icancagua volcano, whose summit approaches 20,000 feet. The lagoon takes its color from a cocktail of minerals found in the water, including magnesium, calcium, carbonate, and lead, which are stirred up by the harsh winds coming off the nearby peaks. After spending the night within the borders of the reserve, the third day is spent trekking to the edge of the Salar itself, passing through painted desert rocks that inspired much of Salvador Dali's work, past boiling hot geysers, and past other smaller lagoons, home to more flamingos. The entire fourth day is dedicated to exploring the Salar, a place of otherworldly splendor and beauty. If the tour is fortunate enough to have rain the night before and a clear day of driving ahead, the Salar becomes a world of surreal unreality, where perception is lost and the earth becomes like heaven. But the Salar isn't just a place of spectacular and bizarre scenery. For some, it's a way of life. This is Eddie and his brother Nirmo. Their family works the flats, spending each day loading salt into their 54 Toyota truck, cooking it down to remove the water and other impurities, and bagging it for sale. To protect themselves from the sun, workers on the Salar wear ski masks despite the heat. Since most cannot afford sunglasses, the blinding sun off the mirror-like Salar can cause vision problems, including snow blindness. In a 10-hour workday, the family collects about 200 kilos of salt, which can be sold for about $5. The brothers live in Colchani, a pueblo of about 200 people located 45 minutes north of Uyuni. The village lies just next to the Salar, and the entire economy is based around salt. Only about 25,000 tons of salt are extracted annually from the estimated 10 billion tons that make up the Salar, so there is no danger of exhausting the resource. However, the people of Colchani are desperately poor, and this is reflected in the town itself. The streets are unpaved, and the buses to neighboring villages run infrequently. There is no market, no central square, and no restaurants, only half-ruined buildings and mounds of salt. Like many things in Bolivia, the Salar presents a series of sharp contrasts. Harsh mountain winds blow through flocks of tropical birds. At times the sky seems to tower over us, and at times it seems beneath our feet. Wealthy tourists pass through Colchani in shiny new Land Cruisers, while the Bolivians struggle by on less than $1 a day. But whether seen as a place of extreme harshness or extreme beauty, it is a place of unique splendor, a place unlike anywhere else on earth.
Would you like a chip?
I'd rather have a crisp, but yes. Lovely.
Oh, they're not salty enough.
Are they dry?
They're a bit plain. I think we should have some salt to them.
Tasteless.
They're
That's
a bit tasteless.
disgusting.
That's really sad.
Where can we find some salt around here? Did we have some salt in the car?
I can't remember.
Oh, watch out.